99.7 WTN.
We are Nashville's live and local Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Standing up for what's right. I'm Michael DelGiorno on Thursday, the 16th of August, 2012. And we've had a lot of discussions this week. If this campaign, if it's acceptable for it to be about personal attacks, distraction, distortion, deception, emotions, Obama's got a shot at getting reelected. If it becomes about facts, if it becomes about issues, and if it becomes about necessary actions, obviously Romney and Ryan have a clear advantage. And so we've talked about how, thanks to the Supreme Court, I mean, that ruling was good for the president, but bad for the president as a candidate, because it brings the health care issue back to the top of the table. And perhaps Paul Ryan and the president's attacks on Paul Ryan brings Medicare back to the table. So we can have factual, meaningful discussions. Because a lot of these issues really shouldn't be partisan. The fact of the matter is, we're broke. These programs are going broke. And we, like the programs, are unsustainable. So whether you're left or right, you better put that aside and sit down and look at right and wrong and facts and truth and figure it out, because tomorrow's going to get here. But if Paul Ryan's on the table and Obama's attacking Ryan on the table, well, then I guess all the issues of the Ryan budget are back on the table with it. And we'll see in conventions and in debates how this plays out. It's going to force Obama to have to run on his record and talk about facts, and that's an amazing disadvantage. My former congressman, they redistricted me, Scott. I'm worthless to you now. I lost my representation. I'm now one of Marcia's boys, but my former congressman, and I was very proud to call him that, Scott DesJarlais, is joining us on the live line. And Scott, so it really becomes about the Ryan plan, and yet I wonder, do we really need to discuss the Ryan? I mean, for one, at least he's had a budget. The Senate hasn't provided one in going on 4 years. Or should we really look at what the Romney-Ryan vision is? Because I don't think the old Ryan plan is going to be the one proposed anyway, is it?
Well, the old Ryan plan, as you said, is the only plan that's out there that has any credibility. And as you said, I mean, you said it all very well in your opening monologue here. This has energized the Romney-Ryan ticket incredibly. Ryan was a great choice. I was a little bit surprised when I first heard it, but then I'm just thrilled with it. I'm more optimistic than I've ever been that we're going to be able to accomplish what we went to Washington to do. As you said, Obama wants to talk about anything but his failed record. He wants to talk about tax returns. He wants to talk about offshore accounts. He wants to talk about Romney being responsible for a cancer patient. He, as you said, the Supreme Court ruling was in his favor. You think he'd be thrilled. He has not mentioned ObamaCare because he knows it's a loser. He knows the seniors didn't want ObamaCare because it got $700 billion out of it. And as much as he wants to hide from his failures and throw negative attacks, Paul Ryan brings right to the forefront all the adult discussions we have to have with the American people to get our country back on track. And I think the Scott Walker election in Wisconsin was the first indicator that people are willing to have that discussion.
And Congressman, I think what encourages me more than anything, especially with Paul Ryan, because let's face it, first and foremost, this is the first presidential decision Mitt Romney's going to make if he becomes president. And it's a good one. It shows that it's not, because these other choices could have been, Marco Rubio, you could say, well, he's trying to get Florida, he's trying to get Hispanic vote. This was a decision to say, not only do we think this is a battle of America's future and an ideological struggle, and we must choose today which way we're going to go, this sent a message to me that not only is Romney serious about getting elected, he's serious about what he does when he does get elected. Because we all know at the end of the day, if Romney and Ryan win, that doesn't mean anything other than there's a new occupant in the White House. What we really need is a budget, first and foremost, and a balanced one, and one that addresses paying down the debt. We have to pull out Obamacare by the roots, because if it exists, it's financially too heavy of an anchor. And then we got to get on to true energy reform and true entitlement reform, because it's all unsustainable. And then ultimately, ideologically, we got to decide what is the proper size and role of the federal government, and what is the role of the and the personal responsibility of the self-governed. That's the discussion we're having throughout this campaign. But it shows me that the hope is the same. The actions are the same. The question is, will the American people be wise enough to focus on the facts and the realities and explore the actions and not play an emotional personality game? I guess we'll find out.
Now more than ever, we have the opportunity for the American people to choose between two clear messages. We know what we get with Obama. You get big government. So if the people want big government, vote for Obama. If you want a big economy, then you vote for Romney and Ryan. President Obama is worried about the next election. Romney and Ryan are worried about the next generation. Very clear choices.
And Obamacare hasn't even been implemented yet, and it's already a failure. In fact, when we started, there were 46 million Americans uninsured. And then we said, well, wait a minute, you can't count 16 million of those. They're illegal immigrants. You're not suggesting that we should be providing insurance to illegals who have broken into this country. So somebody breaks into my house or yours, Scott, not only should we not call the police, we should let them live there and then start paying for their health care. So then the president started going with the number 30 million. So we began with the statement of problem. We have 30 million Americans uninsured, not uncared for. They weren't dying in alleyways with flies on their eyes. They just didn't have insurance. Problem was, half chose not to. All right. But so we started with 30 million uninsured. Guess what we have by 2020 or by 2014 and 2016 for sure? 30 million uninsured. It's probably going to be more than that. So you've accomplished nothing. Premiums have gone up. They haven't gone down. The expenditure for the government as an entitlement is still unsustainable and trajecting itself along with tax increases is unsustainable. So they front-loaded the revenue, back-loaded the expenses, compared 6 years to 10, double-counted. They did all this stuff that Paul Ryan fought against, but now you still have it. So nothing has changed, and it's already a failure. 56% of America want it repealed. Why would we continue with it?
Yeah, well, and for the seniors listening, I mean, this is just the greatest thing in the world, because all last year the Democrats said Republicans are ending Medicare as you know it. My opponent is saying
you better, because as you know it is unsustainable. It was my response.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and so this argument of ending Medicare as we know it, we can't seem to get traction in the press and tell our side of the story. Well, PolitiFact, who whether you follow PolitiFact or not, I don't know if people know, our seniors should know, that the biggest lie, according to Political Fact of 2011, was that statement by the Democrats that that Republicans are ending Medicare as we know it. And Paul Ryan and Romney now have forced the Democrats to have a serious discussion about Medicare. And what we're finding out is that Obamacare immediately got $700 billion out of Medicare and shifts it to fund Obamacare. That's why seniors were against Obamacare in the first place. And now they're going to lose that argument about us ending Medicare. As you stated, we all know Medicare is going to end. The Democrats have not put forth any kind of plan to save Medicare. They've not addressed Social Security, have not addressed entitlements. And the Paul Ryan plan, for those 55 and older, it does not change their plan. They have that security. All those people that said we worked all our lives and we paid into this and we need it, they're going to get that. But the plan is going to go away if we don't protect and preserve it. And that's what Paul Ryan does. And that's what's so great about getting to have this discussion, because people will get to hear the truth.
And Obama uses crazy math to arrive at he is sustaining it for 10 years, but 10 years doesn't sustain it and make it permanent. It just gets him reelected. The truth of the matter is it doesn't affect anybody for 10 years. In the Ryan plan, nobody 55 or older is going to be affected. So if the goal was to buy 10 years, which isn't the goal is to make it sustainable and effective. One gives you the 10 years right up front. So, but I guess, Scott, the question is, do the American people really get and understand these issues? You are a doctor. You do this full time in Congress. I do this full time on the radio. This is what excites me. I think if anybody, and he did in 6 minutes, schooled the president, but if anybody can explain this to the American people, the ideological argument I think Romney can make, but nobody factually can sit down and explain the problem, the challenge, and the proposed solution better than Paul Ryan.
And Senator Corker at one point, and other senators I've heard, said there is no one better on either side of the Hill, Senate or House, better than Paul Ryan at this. He knows it like he wrote it. And coincidentally, he did. No one is better talking this, and he's not, it's not a partisan issue with him. It's an economic issue. I heard Art Laffer on TV earlier, and this is the type of plan that is serious. Erskine Bowles is praising Paul Ryan for this.
Well, that's the classic. They got that video of him in North Carolina a year ago. Now, this is the former chief of staff of Bill Clinton. And he's talking about, have you seen this guy, Paul Ryan? This guy's brilliant. This guy's great. And then he breaks down in the classroom the Ryan plan versus the Obama deception. Well, this is amazing because, and it probably gives us a glimpse that Bill Clinton isn't buying. Well, we know that because Bill Clinton said we'll go off a fiscal cliff if you let the Bush tax cuts expire. So, I mean, we already know the differences between Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, and that's the only one they got to roll out at their convention. All right. So, and then, of course, the main thesis is it's got us all talking about issues and facts instead of emotions and fear tactics. The question is, can the American people awaken and make sense of it? I want to ask you one question that came from an emailer, and it's somebody that's as big of a fan of you as I am and a supporter, and this person's actually supported you with money. So this is not an attack. This is somebody that loves you and would love to see you bury this guy. But the question is, would you mind asking Scott why he's refused to debate Eric Stewart, who I believe is a slimeball and a socialist? I won't get into the rest of the rhetoric. But some supporters of yours that are actually very concerned as to why you're choosing not to debate your opponent.
Sure, Mike, I'm happy to answer that. And it wouldn't be the first time I was misrepresented in the press. First and foremost, we sent a letter in response to that and said that we would revisit the debate issue. But this guy has put nothing in writing on his website anywhere to discuss the issues facing America. We through the paper, got him to admit that he supports Obamacare. We've asked him directly several times whether he'll vote for President Obama. He's dodging it, and I don't blame him. But we know he supports President Obama. I'll say it for him if he can't say it because it's very hard for him to say. I simply said that if the voters want to hear a meaningful debate, this guy first has to put some issues down, write them down. I mean, I can write them down for him if he wants, but we're going to be on Inside Politics tomorrow night. I'll be on for 11 minutes. My opponent will be on for 11 minutes. I love to talk about the issues. We do it all the time. And they'll get a glimpse of where he stands on the issues. And I never did rule out a debate, but that's the mantra that he's spreading.
Okay. So that, all right. This is, you get these, I guess whether he is or isn't on paper with anything, Scott, one way to draw it out would be in a debate, wouldn't it? I mean, he's going to get asked the same questions you are. I guess that's to the emailer. I think that's where he's coming, or she is coming from.
Yeah, that would be the Democratic way. That's not like Nancy Pelosi saying we need to pass the bill to see what's in it. I think that this guy wants to be taken as a serious candidate. He needs to take some stands on the issue. He needs to profess his support for Barack Obama so we have a basis from which to debate. 70% of the electorate in the primary get behind the conservative ideas. And so, at some point we can certainly have this discussion, but you have to do the hard work. And frankly, doing three debates in August makes no sense. The presidents don't debate in August. Here's a guy who has very low name ID, and he's doing anything he can to try to put himself out there. So, he can plan his campaign strategy. We certainly have ours, and we'll be talking more about this.
Good enough answer for me. All right, well, I already moved out of your district for a school. Now I got to find a school I can go to in your district. I may have to move to get back into your representation. But knowing you're not going to overstay your welcome anyway. Scott, thank you on behalf of the DelGiorno family for how you represented us in Washington. And I hope I have the same experience with Marsha Blackburn, who will be my congressman now through redistricting. God bless you, sir.
She'll be great.
All right. Take care, Scott.